Cassidy Caron is the president of the Métis National Council, and back in March, she was in Vatican City to meet the Pope. Now, she met Pope Francis once again when he made his historic apology on Canadian soil. Cassidy Caron joins us right now. Ms. Caron, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I begin with the Pontiff because, like the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, his journey really, the journey to Canada, was also the result of the calls to action. I do wonder, months later, what do you make of that visit and the apology that was delivered?
You know, I still on daily reflect on, first and foremost, our journey over to the Vatican with residential school survivors, and then again, Pope Francis's journey here to Canada. And every single day, I'm still struck, honestly, with how much work we have left to do. And I constantly remind those folks who I have these conversations with that, you know, reconciliation didn't begin and it didn't end with the Pope's apology. We have been advocating for healing and justice and reconciliation in our communities for so long now. And, you know, a simple apology, some words, it was meaningful to many survivors, but there's still an incredible amount of work to do within our communities. And we have a long journey ahead of us. And I believe that reconciliation doesn't really have an end point, that it is a journey, and that we will be working in this journey, these relationships for lifetime.
That makes me wonder then, because I wonder if you would agree, as I've been thinking about it as well. Would you agree that the visit was almost emblematic of the reconciliation process, and that one can check off an action, but it's more than just really checking off a list, that there needs to be deeper layers for it to really resonate?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the 94 calls to action within the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, those are an incredible place to start. But it's not a checklist. It's not check off all of these boxes and then all of a sudden we've completed reconciliation and it's time to move on. I think that it's so important to constantly reassess and reevaluate our priorities within the Métis Nation, reassess what reconciliation means to our survivors, to our elders, to our young people, to community members, and constantly understand what it means. What does reconciliation mean? And so I don't believe that by just checking the box that it ends here. I think, you know, we need to continuously find out what reconciliation means to our communities and then pursue those pathways.
And what about non-Indigenous Canadians? For those in government, those not in government, what is the next deeper layer? We've been engaging in this conversation. It has gained steam, but here we are on the second National Day. Where should non-Indigenous Canadians be looking to next, do you think?
There's so much. You know, I really do think in this last year and a half, that at the year and a half mark coming from the discovery, the uncovery of the 215 unmarked graves in Kamloops, there's been an incredible energy that has been building across this country. Conversations about Canada's true history, talking about the truth before reconciliation, those conversations across Canada, but also across the globe. Those conversations are critically important to have so that people have the awareness of what this true history is, because we can't know where we're going if we don't know where we've come from. I love the calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report because they are very specific about who they are calling upon to create these changes. And, you know, a lot of them calling for the creation of systemic change, which is needed. You know, in a lot of the work that we do, I like to think about change on three levels: symbolic change, substantive change, and systemic change. And until we get to systemic change in this country, we still will face these tragedies, these crises, these human rights abuses that Indigenous communities still continue to face today. And so there's a role for everybody. There's a role for Canadians to play in understanding that history, understanding the role that they can play in creating systemic change, and really just trying to make this country a better place for everybody to live.
Cassidy Caron, always so good to hear from you. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.